How you doing, everybody? Thanks for stopping by and joining us today for another Rollin' Over the Hill right here on the Live to Roll channel. And thanks to all of you for being part of the Live to Roll family. Also, I'd like to take this time to thank our sponsors, mobility professionals and urology professionals. They're a great and helpful group of experts that are very much part of our community and help make things possible here at Live to Roll. So a big thanks to them. On today's show, Ray Pizarro will be joining us. He is co-founder of the Pushrim Foundation. Their mission is helping people with SCI, neurologic disorders, and other mobility impairments through community building, the arts, wellness, recreation, and social support. He is an advocate as well as a friend. We'll be discussing his journey as a SCI survivor and his advocacy role for the community. Please make sure to include your questions and comments and views in the chat. Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Soto. I'm a T12 spinal cord injury from a motorcycle racing accident 50 years ago. Let's get started and welcome my co-host, Bobby. Luis may be joining us, but what's going on, Bobby?
Not much, man. When did you go to like official broadcasting, intros of our guest here? He does deserve a special introduction, but man, you surprised me. So good job on that. I'm Bobby Rohan, C56 quadriplegic. I'm 35 years. Coming to from sunny California here, not too far from Ray. So what you're seeing with our good friend Ray here in the sunshine and making everyone jealous by sitting outside and chilling.
Getting some sun.
Ray
Ray
is a
getting the
good friend of
rays.
mine. Yeah, the Ray is getting the rays. He is a good friend of mine. Ray and I go way back, and I remember meeting Ray. And next thing I know, we were working together over at Extreme Medical for a short time, and then I went over and started working at Rancho and got him on board shortly after. So we've been right there side by side and doing a lot of fun stuff. We used to go pushing at the beach, Long Beach, down by his house, and we've had a lot of good times, right, Ray?
Yes, Bobby, it was quite a cool adventure and good experiences, right? When we get together and do things we love to do, but yeah, good times.
Well, welcome to the show, Ray Pizarro. So glad to have you. I've been wanting to get this for a long time, and like we were just saying, we go back a long ways. But you've been doing a lot of good work out in the community, and we're going to get to all that. But tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, are you a Southern California boy, and then tell us a little bit about how you ended up where you're at today in your position with your disability.
Well, thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Live to Roll, Shawn, and the whole team for just allowing me to share my story and hopefully inspire and motivate, or just get a different perspective in our lives. Right? That's what it's kind of about for me. Um, I guess I could start off. Growing up in Southern California, Los Angeles, Long Beach area, now San Pedro. It's been quite a journey. I got injured back in 1993 from a diving accident in Newport Beach, believe it or not. And yeah, cervical spine, C56, incomplete, quadriplegic, and ended up fusing some vertebrae 4, 5, and 6 in my neck. It was an 8-hour surgery, and the recovery was the rough part. Is getting out of that ICU, and just beating that was a challenge with a collapsed lung and fluid, and a bunch of the halo was installed right after surgery, so that was quite a
Mm-hmm.
psychological adjustment that took me a while to just try to get through it. But yeah, did my rehab at Long Beach Memorial for 3 months, back when you could stay that long. And then did some outpatient rehab at Rancho, where I got more rehab out of it, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
where they specialize in rehab and good therapy team, occupational team. Um, and yeah, just got myself where at least I could feed myself and put on a sweatshirt. Those were my big goals: brushing your teeth, all that stuff people like us go through. And yeah, frustrating. It was a lot of questioning. Why am I here like this? Is it worth it? As a 20-year-old kid, you're still young and immature in a lot of ways, right? And it's hard to see the big picture and what the possibilities are of being in a chair and not having use of your hands and partial arm movement. You think everything's collapsing around you, and yeah, it was a struggle, not only for us, for me, but family members, right? My mother and brothers went through the emotional roller coaster that it is seeing me in that situation. So it took a lot of patience that kind of gets forced on you, or else you'll go crazy.
Hmm.
Before, right, we get up and in 5-10 minutes we're out the door. Now it takes us, I don't know, probably around an hour. If you're lucky, about an hour, right?
Yeah, yeah. Agree. Um,
So
Tell me,
yeah,
what kind of person were you before your accident, though? I mean, and how old were you? And I mean, so
yeah,
because you know, I know that a lot of us that big change is because of somebody we were before. Tell us a little bit about who you were beforehand.
yeah. So before my injury, I was always involved in sports and track running long distance. I played basketball in middle school and high school. So I always leaned towards the athletic part of the spectrum growing up. Super active. Even when we were kids, me and my brother thought we were ninjas and we would climb on roofs and try to jump on people's houses and see if we could make it. We used to watch a lot of kung fu movies and ninja movies, so we thought we were ninjas. So, as kids, your bones are still soft, so you could jump off a roof of a building and still and do a little tumble roll and pop
And
right
bounce,
up.
and you'd be yeah, bounce on the ground, and you'd
Yes,
be fine.
exactly. So that was our growing up. We were kind of just free spirited kids, and I was just always trying to push the envelope and do as much as I can and yeah. So sports was a big deal and fitness. Um, I think that kind of fueled me, and the more I got into team sports, I think made me a better person. Instead of being a golfer or a tennis player, just thinking about myself, I think I got more out of it being in team sports because it allowed me to know how to work with my teammates and trust them and lean on them for support when I need it. So yeah, I think that's kind of a nutshell growing up, and I always was good at adapting, even back when I was young. Just because adversity was against me, right? I'm a Latino boy, right? My growing up and playing basketball, you had to go up against a different, the more athletic people, and when just to gain respect, you really had to push yourself hard. But once I proved my skills on the court, everyone embraces you, right? And they give you that respect. You just kind of got to put your head down and keep pushing forward, work on your game, and little by little you get there. To be able to be part of a great community and team. So, but yeah, I mean, I was that's me growing up, Bobby, as a kid, just athletics, man, going to the beach, bodyboarding. That's what led me to my injury out there, enjoying some bodyboarding and doing things that I love to do. And life happens. You don't know how it's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to inflict pain on yourself or someone else is going to cause you to have an accident. It's just
Yeah.
random things that happen to us. So Hope that's
And how
answers
was
some
your?
of your questions.
Yeah, yeah. Two questions that come up to mind was, so how did your accident happen, and did sports play a big role in your recovery?
Um, Initially, no, because my psyche was really, it was psychological at first. So a lot of depression and anger set in. So I couldn't really process and get me over the hump. But I think sports allowed me to heal faster because I was in pretty decent shape when my accident happened. So I think that's what helped me get through that rehab stage in ICU is my lungs were good. Um, and they healed right away and yeah, I think just that perseverance of trying to improve yourself, right, when you're into sports and taking yourself to the next level. After being at home for a year or two, I mean, I turned the clock and say, you know what, I need to get back to my old self and start doing more for myself instead of staying home and feeling, all that pity and sadness. That wasn't who I was before, and why couldn't I continue to be that man or that young kid I was growing up?
How old were you, Ray, when you were injured?
20.
20. Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was 20. Yep. 20 years old, man.
So,
So, at that age, it's rough, right?
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
what
Well,
type?
you're just out of high school, and you're really ready to take off on that life, right? So I was 19, a couple weeks before my 20th birthday, so I understand what you're saying. But I do have a question. You're
Yeah.
saying pretty much into sports, and you were around a lot of the team around you and all that. So when you were injured, I know you have a team behind you, but how was it relying strictly on you being an individual to um, to propel yourself to be motivated? I mean, I get it. You have a team when you're in sports and all that stuff, but this one was all of a sudden now you're like a solo sport, man. Rehab.
Yeah, no, I guess I gathered inspiration when I ran into one or two guys in my situation, right? When you visually see something, for me, the turning point psychologically when I think the doctors took me out to rugby practice while I had my halo on through the hospital. And I didn't know what that sport was. And I'm like, wait a minute, what is that? And I was like, hey, quadriplegics have their own sport. I'm like, okay, let me go check it out. While I was looking at it, I didn't associate myself with them right away because the way they move, their lack of movement, their atrophy, their balance, all that stuff. So I felt a little uneasy seeing that and seeing that that's the way I'm gonna be looking, if that makes sense, or that's the way I'm gonna be perceived as in the future. I still was in the hopes that I was gonna heal and get a full recovery, as most of us kind of optimistic people think. But yeah, I saw this guy. I do remember him leaving practice and say, "Hey, how did you get here?" He said, "Oh, I drove." He said, "You drove? How? If you can't move your hands." So yeah, but there's adaptive equipment. I could show you how I get in my van and drive. I said, all right. So he took me out. I saw the guy roll his little ramp van, his ramp folded out. He rolled in with a manual chair. He transferred onto his seat and then drove off into the sunset. I'm like, oh, so that when I saw that, it kind of blew my mind and broke down the mental barriers I had of what could be possible, being in the chair in our situation. So after that, I just kind of leaned on that when I felt down and depressed and thought there was no way out. Say, hey, if this guy did it, what do I need to do to get there? So that's kind of what sparked my motivation.
So what changed? You know, you were in this kind of a depression for a couple years, staying at home. Obviously, I met you. Something changed. What was it, and how did what was that deciding factor in getting back out? And where did you start? When you first got back out there.
Yeah, so for me, I mean, I guess what what blossomed again. I did mention this uh, before, but before I was into partying and dating, right? So
Yeah,
I think
you're
dating
19.
and
I mean, come on.
right, exactly. And but every weekend we would go party, right? So just being around beautiful people, and just having the party at the Freedom, the girlfriends, the girl acquaintances. I mean,
You could say
funny
it just
story.
basically you were out for the ladies. That's what you were out there for. Just
I'd have to be honest, and yes, but it's funny story. When I was in rehab, and they found three of my girlfriends, I guess, and one more serious girl that I was dating showed up at the same time. I got in trouble because one showed up and at all three of them kind of showed up at the same time. It was just a weird coincidence, and I heard them in the hallway saying, "Who are you?" And then the other one say, "Who are you?" Say, "Oh shit, uh, that's not a good. I'm sorry. That's a bad situation to be in, right? When you're stretched out in your bed, and then you get your female friends to show up and start questioning each other. Um, so I acted like I was asleep and closed the curtains and just took like a, a fake nap until I said, okay, I don't want them to come in here and start questioning me because I don't know, I can't handle it. So hopefully they'll just get angry and most of them will leave, and that'll be that. I just had
that
too
is
much going on where I didn't want to deal with that. But anyways,
all of a sudden
they all
Ray
laughed.
has a brain injury as well. I have a brain injury too.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I started acting like I didn't know and all this stuff. But one stuck by me and said, regardless of one even flew out from San Jose, and but it was like a weird situation for me. But one stayed, and she was like, "Hey, I'm willing to be with you. I want to be there to support you and get through your recovery." And I took her to one rehab session, and she was like, and she saw me how they picked me up and transferred me, and just seeing the look on her face was too much for me. So after that, I
Yeah,
I told her, I was like, you know what, you know, I don't want to put no pressure on you. You can move on, and if I do heal, then if we're better positioned and still available, we could rekindle our where we started. And I just don't want her to go through this tough stage in my life where I could barely handle myself. How much more a relationship like to be able to work through that. But anyways, Bobby, make a long story short, man, I think the dating part of it kind of motivated me, and getting out back out there. And I told myself, hey, if I go out and ask people, ask ladies out to go out on a date, I might get shot down 50 times, but that one that says yes, that's a win. You know what I mean? So I went
yeah,
process of elimination and be like, if they're gonna be into you for who you are instead of the physical like preconceptions of what it's like to be with a person, then they're not for you. If they're gonna get
yeah,
that as a barrier. So yeah, man,
yeah.
that was basically some of my thing, and got my first date in. I was like, oh, this is cool. So
Yeah.
then
You know what?
I
Yeah.
took the next step to driving, right? I wanted to drive and pick up my date. That would have been the ultimate goal, right? Like, all right, I'm coming
So
by to pick you up
basically,
at 8.
so women were your motivation to get out finally again.
Yes, yes, yes. I would say so. Um,
Yeah,
it was just
and,
something that propelled me. Yeah.
you know, and I know a little bit about your story of driving. So, and it's one of few that people who get this opportunity that you got. So tell us about your driving and how all that, came together with you getting a van and everything that you didn't even have to pay a dime
So
for the
yeah,
most part.
I no, yeah, Bobby, thank you. I like to share this story because going back to the possibilities, right? So I have to give props to my late friend Rodney, uh, that actually told me about this program because he worked for Independent Living Center, and he told me about um, you could get an adaptive vehicle for free, right? When he said that, I said, no, there's no way I could do that. Those things are expensive. Who's going to pay $60,000 for a brand new vehicle? I know a program that does that, and I could tell you more about it, and you can start the process. I said, okay, yeah, let's do it. I'm excited. So basically, the program that he told me about many years ago, that made it possible for me to drive again, was Department of Rehabilitation, California Department of Rehab, worked with the Social Security Pass Cadre. A Pass Cadre is the synonym for that is plan to achieve self-support. And the program basically worked. I don't know if it's still the same today than when I first applied for it. Was if you are working part-time and wanna work full-time and get off benefits or whatever, you could qualify. Or if you're a full-time student and you need reliable transportation to get to school and finish school, or work, right? And make that jump. So the Social Security Administration office allows you to save up um, how, how much ever your SSI is into a bank account. I mean, you still receive yours, but that goes into a special account, separate account, where it adds up to how much your vehicle is going to cost. And you could grab that money, go purchase it, and they'll and then Department of Rehab will jump in together with that program to pay for any modifications that the vehicle needs. So and driving, driver's training, and all that stuff. So I jumped in. It took me about 2 years, 2.5 years, to really save up that much and purchase a vehicle. But make a long story short, man, it wasn't easy. It was a lot of calling my case manager, calling my counselor, just following up, submitting application paperwork. But yeah, finally achieved it. And when I pulled up and drove it home for the first time, it was one of the most liberating experiences I've ever had. To be able to independently get in the vehicle and drive somewhere and get out safely. So that's kind of the journey I took to start driving again, and it didn't cost me a dime. The only that did cost me, was the taxes and the license and registration stuff. That they're always going to get you for that,
Yeah.
but that was nothing compared to how much the vehicle costs. So I was winning, and
Yep.
I actually shared my journey in getting a vehicle with three more people um, that went through the process and got their vans because I told them about the program. So I feel like sharing is caring. And the more you share, the more people tap into life changing experiences, bro.
But it still
Good
wasn't
deal.
easy. They just didn't like, oh, okay, Ray Bazaar is going to do that. What were some of the hurdles of this, process through Department of Rehab?
So I would say, I would ask people. I think they kind of test you. It almost felt like I was being tested on a scale of 0 to 100. How bad do I want this vehicle, right? And how bad do I want to achieve self support? So I went in with 100% dedication to get it done by any means necessary. Because if you're not fully invested in your goal you're trying to achieve, there'll be a lot of roadblocks. You won't follow up. Like the follow up procedure was the most important part of me being able to complete uh, this program, right? So
Mhm.
when I would email people and they don't get back to me, I don't wait a month, 3 weeks,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
month for them to get back to me. No, 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 that's not my MO. The follow up is probably the most important thing. And one piece of advice that I would let people know, that don't wait for them to get back to you. You initiate the call and say, okay, I submitted your email, your paperwork. I'm calling to make sure you received it. If you received it, when is a good time I could follow up on the next step, right? And if they say, oh, you can follow up with me within a week or a couple days, I'll put it in my calendar and make sure I do that because you got to be that squeaky wheel, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of
Yep.
times they got a bunch of people that are in line. Now, you're not the only one. And if you're in there just constantly calling them and letting them, hey, what's going on with my case? Why is it taking so long? And sometimes you got to go beyond that, right? You got to speak to the supervisor. If you're not getting any return calls or not being able to speak to your counselor, it's time to take it to another level. Or
Yep.
ultimately switch counselors if they're not helping you, because you got the right to do that as a consumer. So there was a
Right.
lot of things there that I just couldn't accept a no answer or being ignored. I found a way to go around and get what I needed and what I was, you know, deserved to get under that program.
Because they said no to you a lot. Is that correct?
Well, they they actually the the number no didn't happen. They just said something and didn't follow through on it on their end, right? When they were going to process stuff, when they were supposed to call me, that didn't happen. So that led me to believe like I'm not going to extend or wait any more time that needs to be. I know it takes time, but when they don't reply to your phone calls or show up at the office, I would show up, man. I stopped calling. I just show up and
Yeah,
talk
that's
to
right.
them and a supervisor. They're like, "Do you have an appointment?" Nope. Oh, you got to make an appointment. No, I need to speak to a supervisor. I need to know what's going on with my case. These are and document what time I called and let them know, hey, I'm not getting a reply. I left all these messages and they're not getting back to me. So, that's kind of the hurdles, but it's possible, man. You just got to stay after it and do it because no one
Yeah,
has
persistence.
$60,000. A lot of people don't have $60,000 laying around. Be like, all right, I want this van, and I'm gonna just go in the bank and purchase it and drive into the sunset, right?
Yeah.
It unless you got a big settlement or just live up in the hills somewhere, then maybe you could do that. But a lot of us don't really have that kind of disposable cash
Well,
to do that
and Ray,
and be yeah
now it's not 60,000. Now it's what? 100,000?
Eight,
close to
yeah,
80, got 100. You're
eight-
right.
80, 80
You're
to
right.
100 grand.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
crazy.
for me, I
Yeah,
think
not
I think another motivating part, Bobby, and everyone on the call is that I guess I got to give props and thank you uh, that I attended my first Abilities Expo, right? Because that actually helped propel myself even more when I saw not only the people with my disability, but the range of disabilities that were out there that I learned so much from, and that kind of motivated me to see that there's some other people that are dealing with more challenges than us, and I still could do a lot for myself, and I should just put my head down. So in that expo, when I first went, I rolled into my first Toyota, which that's a vehicle I got. And it felt so nice to roll in there. It's brand new. It still had that car smell and plastic on the floor. And I was like, oh my God. And I sat there for like 15 minutes, right? I was hogging I took advantage of my time in there, right? And just were imagining what that would be like for one day me having one of these, right? And I sat there and be like, you know what? I said to myself, I never forget this. I'm gonna have this van one day. I don't know how I'm gonna have it, but this is gonna be me one day. And I'm gonna surprise people, and I'm gonna just like be another man. And I don't know how it's gonna happen, but so I want to thank the Abilities Expo because man, all the different resources, equipment, vehicles that they bring to these expos are like, I mean, they're invaluable, man. It's like a rite of passage that everyone that gets injured needs to go to this expo just to see what's possible, right?
Yeah, oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So you got the band, and what?
So then I was like, okay, practice, and then I had a little trouble on my left turns. I do remember that was a challenge because gravity wants to take you to the right, and as a quad, you got to be really strapped into your belts or lean into the door to make those left turns. So that was a challenge. But man, the first thing I did was wanted to experience going through a drive-through and feeding myself, right? So I first thing I made a beeline to In and Out. I'm like, I'm gonna do this. So I went through I don't know how I was gonna grab the bag and do all this stuff. I'll figure it out when I get there. So I went through the In and Out. I don't know how, if I had cash that time or a card. I don't remember how that went down, but I remember grabbing the bag and then throwing it on my seat and almost spilt it just doing that. And then the drink was a challenge. I had a cup holder and I kind of threw it onto the cup holder and it landed, thank God, right in that little slot, or it would have been all on the floor. So I go park in the parking lot and start getting into ripping that bag open and putting it on my lap. And yeah, I ended up, while I was ripping the bag open, I guess it ripped too fast and fries flew out of it, and I dropped like 75% of my French fries flew all over on the floor, and I got left with those ones that are left on the bottom of the bag. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And luckily, the burger was still there because that was the main event actually. So I wasn't feeling too bad about that, and it was my first rodeo, right? Drive through. So uh, I devoured the burger. I think I ate half of the yellow paper they put on there because I wasn't good at peeling stuff. You know, when you have paws or spatulas for hands, I call them. It's hard to get in there, right? You start using your teeth, and then I was so hungry that day, I didn't have the patience to take my time to wrap stuff open and peel it down. So I just started taking bites and spitting out the paper. But I know I must have ate a couple bites out of the paper, but I didn't care. It was a win, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and yeah, hands all dirty, but I was like, all right, I got to work on this to get better at eating. But that was just one
no,
of the
I've had a.
things that was like awesome
I'm
feeling.
sorry, mine was a no food policy for like a year when it's brand new. Like no grease, no food, no. Not until I started getting it, dirty inside a little bit more, and then I might go for it. But you're a brave man, so
Yeah, bro. It's a difference when it costs you money than when it doesn't cost you that much to make a mess, right?
ah,
You learn, you learn to take care of your stuff a lot more when it's coming out of your pocket. But
yeah,
unless
maybe,
you're just a super clean freak. But I just wanted to experience that again because it's been like it took me 10 years to drive again after my injury, so that was quite a
Yeah,
long time to tap into this resource. But what would have happened if I would have known about this resource like 2 years after my injury or 1 year? I would have been driving like 8 years prior, maybe,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like a lot sooner than later. But that's what all these networks are great about because we could tap into, I call them nuggets, right, of information and resources that are life changing for us. It could be something as small as a reacher, right, that could pick stuff up from the floor, or adaptive tool that my buddy Mark, like 3D prints that could give you that independence that you lost,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
it's huge.
yeah. So you start driving. Where does life go from there?
So yeah, life takes me on a journey of dating, of going to work finally, and getting a full-time job, and feeling good about myself, and settling down, finding a special lady, getting married, putting up with my ups and downs. But it was something, a goal, a dream that I wanted to have a special someone in my life, and it made me a better man, it taught me more patience and more better listening skills. Or I knew the alternative, right? I'd be in the doghouse or single again. So I had to learn how to adapt to that, and fought through a lot of challenges and things like that. But ultimately, it allowed me to drive to Vegas independently. That was also a five hour first time trip down there, and cruised, and it felt good that I could start traveling again. When you get injured, I think traveling just also is it's a part of the healing process, right? Of
Yep.
exploring outside of your comfort zone and discovering new places and just knowing that you could get out here with you and your family and friends and yeah, it was wonderful, man. It was a great experience.
Yeah. So Pushroom comes into play here in your life. They want to tell us a little bit about what Pushroom was, and how it got started, and what it was before, and what it is now.
Yeah, Bobby. So thank you, man. Yeah, it was just something that I was always into networking, and I saw the power of networking and how it helped me in my life and others. So me and a buddy of mine, Richard, we were at the Rancho Games. It's a sports festival that Rancho Los Amigos Rehab Center has, and we'd come here every year, but we run into our friends once a year. I'm like, this is kind of it's kind of bad. Always meeting people, got to wait a whole year to team up with people and stay networked. And we're like, let's create a social network online and see how we can connect people and just share photos. And I know Facebook was going on, but just more of a specialized location where people with, related injuries connect and could open up a little easier for another person that has the injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
And talk about sensitive issues like dating, sex, travel. I mean, so many things, right? So it was, we created that platform like in 20, what is it, 2010, I believe, or 2011 as just a simple social networking site. And then later we developed into a nonprofit organization in 2014 and yeah, just started building a few programs around there and donating some wheelchairs and art supplies to disabled artists. We do have a little social networking. We call it Support Social, where we connect every twice a month just to share our month, our weeks, our accomplishments or resources, and
Mm-hmm.
that uplifting our spirits if we're dealing with adversity or some hard times in our lives. And yeah, it's been really great. We were able to do some videos on YouTube. We and kind of share our stories and people doing great things out there in the community. And I think we had you on there twice, Bobby, so you could go back there and watch Bobby's throwback videos where he looked a little uncomfortable behind the camera, and squirming but no, Bobby's an awesome guy. But he was one of the examples that we use as just by sharing your story, how impactful that is, right? And my life isn't so bad. If they could get that out of it, right, that they could get to the next level. That I mean that's what helps. So that's our nonprofit, and it's still
Yeah.
going on today. We're having Pushrim in the Park fundraisers where we celebrate life after injury by getting together and just enjoying some good friends, new friends, newly injured, older friends, and just spending a day out in the fresh air and celebrating life. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you guys push ram when if you look back on YouTube and see, yep, the OGs. So if you look on YouTube and type in push ram, you can definitely see that they started kind of what we have here today. You guys weren't live though, right? We weren't live. You were
No,
not live.
we were pre-recorded because we were wanted to make sure everything turned out right. But now with technology, you guys are doing it the right way, where technology is so good now that you could just preset everything and roll with it, right, live.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah. But
yep.
you guys did what about, I don't know, 50, 60
Fif-
shows, maybe?
40,
Yeah,
yeah, 40, 46, somewhere around there. But
yeah.
I thought they were about an hour long, and it was a organic approach to podcasting, right? And that's how we wanted to keep it. Yeah, we had some questions that we thought we were good to ask our guests or maybe we just asked them, what are you comfortable talking about and what are you comfortable not talking about? At the end of the day, they felt so comfortable. They were spilling the beans
Yeah.
and just being their own selves and no pressure, That's how we like to do it.
Well, I
Yeah.
had a chance. I talked to Bobby, text me and gave me some of the websites. I looked at YouTube and watched some of the original podcasts. I go, those are really good. What you guys are doing, and that was back then. I mean, for me, what was that? 12, 15 years ago, 13 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, yeah, it was good stuff. I encourage everyone to take a little time and just kind of check out some of the interviews. Especially, I checked out the one with Bobby, and yeah, it was good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I think we had Triumph Foundation on as well
Yeah.
when
Andrew,
Andrew was
Andrew.
getting
Yep.
his when he started getting his great organization going and it's that's what it's about, man. If you keep all the good, if you limit all the good stuff that these organizations are doing, or you hold it back, you're not allowing people to tap in, right? It's all
Right.
Yeah.
about tapping in, being inclusive, and welcoming everyone in need. Even sometimes family members would join our organization, Triumph's organization, Rancho's organization, and just sit in a wheelchair and shoot basketball, and all of a sudden they get a dose of perspective that they never had before, and it makes them look at their lives as so fortunate and lucky to have all their limbs and hands and bodily functions working the way they are. So yeah, it works for families as well.
Yeah. Most definitely. So where's Ray now? I mean, this is our show on Thursday. We talk a little bit about aging, and so tell us about your last couple of years because I know it personally and what's been going on, and I know you've gone through a kind of another transformation in life, and you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Bobby. Yeah, recently, I mean, I only health issues I've been having is these dang vertebrae, right? I keep breaking them. They keep breaking on me, and I have to go in there and get hardware put in. So, my latest, I guess, after all these 30 years, some years almost, my T11 vertebrae, the cushioning between the vertebrae, they wore out, right? So, we all lose the cushioning between our vertebrae. If you go in and get a CT scan about your spine, the doctor will tell you how much percentage you have lost. I just noticed that as some other vertebrae are 50%, right? All the years of sitting and grinding and transferring and pushing. I mean, it's going to take a toll. So for me, one day my T11 just burst. I got a big headache. My heart was pounding, got dysreflectic. All of a sudden, I couldn't sit up straight in my chair. I was slouching all the time. And yeah, they went in and got
And you
x-rays.
and that's when you were using a manual chair as a C56
I was in a
quad.
manager for about 30 years, man, since I got
Yeah.
injured.
And you didn't
So
use
I
any emotions.
no, just all manual power. I figured out a way to. I told myself if I'm gonna stay healthy or manage my weight, I better stay doing physical activity. And I just was a manual chair user for all these years, and I think it worked because it allowed me to keep my weight at a certain um, place without burning extra calories, still enjoying some burger and fries once in a while without, you know, going wider on my wheelchairs and so that helped me a lot. I think cardiovascular wise, it helped a lot, and the kinship and the great friends that I met along the way. I got a few guys out there that are grinders. Kevin, a good friend of mine, he's still out there pushing, man. Since I first got him out there, he never let go, and he's always taking time to invest in his health, and he knows the benefits of getting out there and pushing. And Brian and even Richard was another guy that was in a power, and he jumped into manual, started doing a lot of manual work, and he could probably tell you how much it helped him. And And Bobby, I mean, he's always been in the chair. So that was another guy that got to give kudos to for inspiring me to keep going. Because sometimes you just want to throw in the towel and be like, why am I working so hard? I need to be in a power chair, get around, not worry about falling on my face or knees like I used to. But you know, we all find motivation in each other in different ways. And
Hmm.
I just want to thank all the guys that I got influenced by feeding off their energy and pushing each other, right, to get better. So
Yeah. So did you ever find out what caused that? I mean, I know we lose some of it, but what caused the burst of your T11, and
yeah.
how did
Uh,
how did that impact your life before and now after?
so yeah, so it just the doctor said that it just that particular vertebrae just wore out because when we sit, we can't sit straight. We have to slouch a little bit, right? And just to balance ourselves on a bed and sometimes in a chair. And it's just, you know, some people wear out more than others. And he said just, it just degenerative. It just wore out and the bone to bone was rubbing until, you know, you're on vertebrae and something's got to give. So when that happened, um, you know, I went into, they said, oh, you got to have surgery. So they went in and reinforced it, man. They put in rods like T9 down through T11 to L1 or 2. Just and also put a titanium cage where that T11 vertebrae broke to support the top vertebrae and the bottom vertebrae and have something there, right, for structure.
Hmm.
So that was a scary surgery because that was more hardware than I ever received, and my biggest fear was getting a pressure sore coming out of surgery. You know, and no, and didn't think about the more serious one was losing 3 units of blood in my surgery. So they did one blood transfusion during the surgery, and I got up to uh, to recovery, and I my heart rate was going down. It was too low, you know, and I was feeling weak and barely breathing. They found out that I lost 2 more bags, 2 units. So they had to re-up me 2 more units to get my white blood count back
Red,
up,
your red blood cell
or
count.
red, whichever it
Hmm.
was. I don't remember because I was in and
We don't
out.
want your white up. That's that's where you get the infection. We want
Yeah.
red.
Yes. So the vampire guy comes up with his 2 little bags, and he said, "All right, man, we got to re-up you." I said, "Hey, is there anything I should worry about once you're dripping this blood into me?" He said, "No, you're B positive, and I am positive, but as a person, but I was like, anything? Oh, you might get your body might accept it or get a allergic reaction." I said, "Oh, great, something else to deal
Something
with."
else,
So he
something
started,
else to worry about. Yeah.
yeah. So as the first bag started to go, a minute or two after, I started shaking. I start like
Oh
starting
man.
to almost convulse. And I'm like, oh shoot, I got allergic reaction, and then he said, "Oh, let's wait a little more. It might go down. It might calm down." And I just first 4 minutes of that were scary because I started shaking like crazy. I'm like, "What's going on?" He said, and then gradually it started getting better. But what he told me was that when they put that blood in you, it's cold, right? They bring it in that little ice box. So when
Yeah.
it's going
Yeah.
into your body and you're dripping cold blood through your system, of course your temperature is going to go down. Your body's going to start reacting. So that's what ended up happening, and I powered through the second bag and you know got better. But that was a scary sight there. So I tell people I'm running out of vertebrae to put rods in me. I'm already C456, the original surgery, titanium and rods, and then I'm T9 to L2 of rods. So I better stop breaking vertebrae because I won't be able to move. So what happened, Bobby? I actually lost some independence in bed mobility because of my lower back. They can't bend; it's stiff. before I could roll, I could sit up, I could get in interesting, positions and things of that sort. But now I'm a little bit limited, and I had to get a bed that the headboard comes up, so I could to get help getting out of bed and in bed. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, those were some adjustments that I had to go through, and thank goodness I was still able to catheterize myself because that was a challenge at the hospital too.
Yeah.
Because if you're sitting straight up, thank God I can bend my neck down because that's that was a little challenging, man. Trying to sit up straight as a board and be able to kind of get yourself together to IC, but I figured it out, and thank goodness I still have that as a piece of my independence.
How
Yeah.
easy was it transitioning from your manual chair to your power chair? Was that a transition for you?
Actually, it's funny you say that because I was planning to transition
Okay.
about 5 years prior to my injury. I spoke to it for a couple reasons, either going, um, what is it? What's a smart drive? What is a power assist?
Yeah. Yeah. The power
Is
assist
Emotion
that
smart
what they
drive.
call them?
or
Yeah,
emotions
yeah,
or drive. Yeah.
yeah.
There's
So
two. Yeah.
I thought about transitioning to that and ease up on my shoulders and make my life a little bit easier, not work so hard, or just doing the power chair and giving me different kind of independence actually. More independence to go shopping around my neighborhood. I could go to the market, get on local transportation, and go, bring groceries in, hang them on my chair, and be doing that independently instead of getting in the vehicle, driving around. I can't hang stuff on my manual chair the way I could
Yeah.
do a power chair. So when I lost some independence, I gained it in other ways. And also in hot or cold days, I could zip around this power chair and not be affected too much by the weather, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
Yeah.
so there is some good things. Yeah, it's a more bigger footprint than a manual chair, and but the way people perceive me, I didn't notice any difference. And people still smile at me and greet me when I come into restaurants, same way they did in a manual chair. So I didn't I wasn't expecting any changes, but I'm glad I didn't see any changes
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
because
That's
I
good.
made the transition. And I tell people
Yeah.
all the time that every 10 years or so, we got to go through a adaptive stage, even as you get older, right? When we get older, we got to adapt to different
Oh
situations,
yeah.
right? How long
Yep.
we
Yeah.
sit in our chairs, what type of cushion we have, our bed, maybe our ability to do things like uh, we're going to have more challenges as we get older, and also learn how to depend on people. That's another big one, right? Um, Maybe before we can do it ourselves, now we need some assistance, maybe half of the assistance or full assistance. So being okay with that and accepting that is a big step towards you just pushing forward and living the best quality of life that you can. So
Yeah. Um, did it affect your transfers or driving at all?
yeah, my transfers, I need assistance. Actually, transfers got better, and I always need a little help to jump over. But now with my power chair, I can lift my seat goes up and down, so I could be level to whatever area I'm transferring to. So it makes it a lot easier for me to just have zero gap where I don't need a sliding board. I could basically
Yeah.
slide
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
chair
Yeah.
to bed, bed to whatever, to bath bench, and not worry about that. So that's been good. Driving, uh, it did. I'm not able to transfer independently like I used to because of my lower back. Um, and that affected me. I lost the ability to do that. I could still drive if someone helps me slide into the driver's seat. So maybe on my next upgrade to be able to regain my independence, just drive from my power chair
Yeah.
and get the easy lock system put in and go about my day. If I want to get in and out, I could jump in, lock, and go. So I think that's something that I'm looking forward to get adapted. I got to find some good resources and grants to be able to make that happen. So if you guys know of any, let me know and I could tap in so I could get myself on the road again. But anyways, I mean, that's the journey. I mean, that's the beautiful about community is if there's a will, there's a way, and that's so true.
There's an article, Ray, and we just
Yeah.
had the editor of New Mobility magazine, and if I'm not mistaken, it's either this month or last month, is a gentleman that said, how he got his independence and got his van, using all these grants. And there's a grant there that he used that I didn't look up into it, but he said it was a big help to doing a lot of his van grant portion. So maybe look in that New Mobility magazine, which you can catch online and get the whole digital version
Oh,
online
nice.
for free. So, and we always recommend going to New Mobility magazine. They have great reads and great stuff, and you learn a lot. But
Yeah.
might want to look that up, Ray, or if I remember, I'll look it up real quick and text that to you.
No, I'll definitely tap in, and I need to get back on their prescription. I mean, on their subscription, even though we do have a lot of prescriptions lined up for our
Yeah.
for
Well,
our ailments, right?
you don't even need to do that. You can just go online and you can get the full magazine
Oh,
digitally,
okay.
and it looks like you're flipping the magazine,
Oh, perfect.
automatically. Yeah, it's great. I love it. I love, and even when it changes pages, it makes the page sound turn. Like, whoosh,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm like,
Uh,
oh, it's great. So,
it's
um,
perfect for the
so yeah,
iPad I have.
yeah, there you go. Um, Ray, it was great. We're,
Yeah.
getting at the top of the hour. I wanted to, in our chat, thank you everybody for joining us. Glad you can make it, Luis. Rob,
Yeah.
as always, Dominic. We had Paul, Leon, and a new one, Paul Nelson. Um, and Paul asked, my name is Paul. I'm with a disability as well and would love to talk to you guys. You can always hit us up on Instagram and Live to Roll, or you can look me up. I'm Robert Rohan. Ray Pizarro is Pushrim. So if you want to talk to us, you can get us a private message. And any questions you have, hopefully we're able to answer for you on Instagram. But before we wrap up and say our last thoughts and in the show, do you want to run through our sponsors there, Robert? Because now that you're
Sure.
so professional at it.
Yeah, so I just want to thank our sponsors, Mobility Professionals and Urology Professionals. Mobility Professionals located here in Southern California will help you with your wheelchair and any of your rehab needs, equipment. So give them a shout out on that. As for your urological needs, Urology Professionals, they can provide urology supplies across the nation. So again, get with them, check your insurance, and I know a lot of people have been switching over to them. So great group of people, like I said in the beginning, and they're part of our community and are a big participant within the community. So
And
hats
if
off to mobility professionals and urology professionals.
and if you are coming out to our sports festival this weekend in Santa Clarita, California, they will be there, so you can talk to
Yep,
them about
yep,
switching over if you're not using them already. And
yeah, and they're also going to have a repair booth, a tent there set up. So if you have any repairs, minor repairs or anything like that, they can work on your chair for you.
absolutely. Yeah. So we got some great shows here on Live to Roll. Ray, if you don't know, we have a gaming show every Monday with Hell Wheels. Rob, he's talking to you about gaming, technology, and all that great stuff. You can join me again at 3:30 next week on Tuesday. I know we have a great guest coming up with Tom and Shawn. Everybody loves those guys, seeing them. And then every Wednesday, our second gaming show, T Fizzle. He just like a hanging out. Grab your smokes, grab your beer or whiskey, and hang out with T Fizzle, Tom there. He's always great and has a good time there. And then next month is the beginning of the month, and we have our Golden Oldies, and they're coming. They're talking about motherhood. All four of them, I should say, have had kids, and I think let's see here, one, two, three. Three of them had their kids after their disabilities, so I'm sure they're going to give a lot of great information. And don't forget, we do have another women's uh, uh, show. We have Wheel Girl Talk. God, that's a mouthful for me. Wheel Girl Talk. With Brianna and her friends. So check them out. And as always, you can check out Rolling Over the Hill every second and fourth Thursday of the month. Me, myself, and Luis. Luis is in our chat helping us out there. And Ray, thank you so
Thank you.
much. I'm glad you finally got you on, got to hear a little bit about your story. If you want to know more about Pushrim, please look up, you're still at pushrim.com.
Pushrimfoundation.org.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Pushrimfoundation.org.
yeah, and then my personal Instagram is iPushrim is my Instagram handle, and in there in the link you could tap into my profile and check out my bio page and see all the cool stuff that I've been a part of and I'm continuing to help people with.
Yeah, and if you're here in the Southern California, every summer they put on a great barbecue party right there in the park across the street from Rancho. They get one of these guys who's uh, like a professional tailgater who goes to USC games. They come out and they barbecue for the whole group, and they do such a great job. Excellent barbecuers, and so that's coming up. Do you have a date on that, Ray?
Not yet, but I'll make sure I share it out so we could
Please.
get as many people to come to celebrate.
And that's at Apollo Park, right?
Yes, follow Park.
Yep. Okay.
Down.
Yeah,
Good
Paul.
deal.
Yeah, would love to hear about your journey, find out who you are, and definitely reach out to us. And Ray gave you his Instagram. We're at Live to Roll on our Instagram. Um, any last thoughts, words of wisdom before we wrap up here?
I guess I could just share. I want to give some kudos to Live to Roll and the team members that are a part of this great podcast and sharing all these great resources. Keep up the good work, and I thank you for having me, and looking forward to more episodes.
Any word of advice that you can give someone who either newly injured, 10 years, 20 years, doesn't matter?
Yes, so definitely um implement the buddy system early on in your disability or later on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Find someone you could connect with that you could consider a good friend that has a disability similar to yours or not, and you guys will go a long way supporting each other. That's kind of one of the things I would suggest or inform people to try to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not a
Good advice.
Yeah, and Paul, you just asked about more information about grants for vans. Like I said, there's an article in New Mobility magazine last month or this month. I can't remember. Look at the last two. Um, uh, they talked about a gentleman talked about how he went through that whole process. And if you didn't join us at the beginning, Ray talked about going through the Department of Rehabilitation of California. I don't know if all the states probably have that program where they can do vans to get to return to work or school, but definitely check that out or hit up Ray at iPushrim on Instagram. Like he said, he can help you out with that. So hope everyone has a great weekend. Happy end of the month. We will see you. I can't believe next time in May, but not with the
Already.
roll for the 3:30. Our next week with the boys we're still April. So, but next time you see Rolling Over the Hill, we'll be here in
Okay.
May. Black Olive, glad you're able to join us, Olivia. So, till next time, live to roll.
All right. See ya. Thanks, Ray.